What's up guys, Bryan here. Today's going to be about a question that I received from my mate Kieran. We go to the same college and he's asked how to use quartal voicings. First of all, we need to understand why might we want to use quartal voicings, and then we can decide how we're going to use them. So first of all, the reason we might want to use this kind of voicing is that it gives a very distinctive sound. It's almost sounds very modern and contemporary, and some kind of jazz really requires that. Ultimately, I think it comes down to taste. So the definition of a quartal voicing, the notes have to be a fourth apart. So an example would be over here, A, D, G, C. A fourth up would be D, fourth up would be G, fourth up would be C. And the chords sound like this. It's also very good to understand that on a guitar, since the strings are tuned in fourths, we can quite easily voice these in terms of fingering. A good starting point would be to look at shell voicings first. If you haven't already checked out that video, I'll link it on the top right, so you can click on that. Let's take a C major shell voicing over here. Okay, if we add G with it, flip the bottom note right to the top, okay, 2 octaves higher. So the C on the 6th string would be moved to the C to the 1st string, and still keeping the rest of the shape. This is called a drop 2 voicing. The name actually comes from the fact that if you play an arpeggio of C major 7, on the way down, so C would be our first note, drop 2, it just literally means drop the 2nd note down an octave. B is our 2nd note, so you drop it down an octave, you get B here, and play the rest of the chord. There's your C major 7, drop 2 voicing. You can move this voicing so that you move the 7 and the 3rd down a full step into a 6 and a 9. A and D. So the difference is kind of like this, or so it sounds a little bit more mysterious, a little bit more ambiguous, I suppose, because it doesn't have the guide tones in it. It's replaced the 7th and the 3rd with the 6th and the 9th. And it sounds quite colourful because it uses the extensions. Okay, that's one way of figuring it out. The other way would be to figure out all your drop 2 voicing and their inversions. That's with the root on top. If you want the 3rd on top, C, G, B and E. And you'll find that the theory is the same. You've dropped the 2nd note down, because the arpeggio down would be E, C. So you've dropped the C down and you play the rest of it. Usually the next one would be E, B, C and G, right? That's with the 5th on top, G on top. But as you can see here, it's a little bit hard to voice, and in a jazz tune, if it's going quite quickly, it's hard to get your fingers around to pressing down on these notes in this particular shape. Substitute it with a quartal voicing. Okay, 6, 9 again, because we've got E, A, D and G. This chord gives a little bit more information about our C major because it has an E in it, which is the 3rd, and then it's got the 6, the 9 and the 5th. Okay, so 5th on top. Well, you can start to remember some of these quartal voicing chords by assigning the top note, the root on top, and we've also got now the 5th on top, or down here as well. quite a common sound in jazz, I would say, jazz guitar especially. And just before we go to applying these into a standard, try and experiment with moving the same shape up or down in parallel, basically. So over here, root on top, knowing that these two notes, okay, B and E, are also within our C major 7 chord, how about we can move the whole shape up 2 frets, so a full tone. And now we've got 7, 3, 6, and 9. Instead of throwing away the 7 and 3 and replacing it with 6, 9, sounds like this. We can try and play the usual shell voicing, keeping the 7th and 3rd, and put the 6, 9 on top. And sometimes it can sound really cool when you move the same chord up or down in parallel. Yeah, so we're going to try and put these 3 into practice on a standard. Just a quick recap, we've got root on top, 9th on top, and the 5th on top. But all of them can be used in a C major context. Let's play Autumn Leaves. Rather than comp it, you can now try and play the quartal voicings as much as you can. We don't even have to go into the 2-5 at the end, because today we're just going to apply quartal voicings in our major context. So the first 4 bars, C minor, F7, B flat, major, E flat major. B flat, 6, 9, and then on the E flat as well. Okay, so it can be the same voicing for both chords. Because for the B flat, it's a root on top. For the E flat, it's the 5th on top. That's about it for today. If you have any more questions, please let me know or comment down below what you think about this lesson. If you found it useful, subscribe to this channel, like this video, and share it with your guitar friends if they're looking to play some jazz. In the next video, I'm gonna expand on this idea a bit and perhaps talk about how to voice quartal voicings on another string set and how to use it in minor chords as well. So I hope to see you next time. Cheers.